So at any given time, 3% of the market is ready to purchase whatever you're selling.
What is going on, everyone? Today I am going to be doing an interview with Arial Long, and Arial Long is a expert in direct response copywriting, sales funnels, landing pages, and it was really good content, so I just want to share this with you guys. If you're wondering what the hell is this behind me, as you can see, it's not really set up all the way yet. It's a screen because I was going to shoot my business story video today, so I threw that up there. But anyway, I just gave this to you guys completely uncut. I didn't edit through it. It's going to be a little bit long, but you guys can see exactly how it goes. If you want the cut clean version, link to the podcast is going to be in the description down below. Not quite done yet. It's going to be coming soon, so I'm sorry I just threw this up there because I wanted to give you guys this content, trying to post content daily. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoy. I will see you at the end.
My name's Ariel. I'm the co-founder and copywriter here at Long Digital Media. Essentially what we do is just business services for really any kind of business, but mostly high-ticket items. Anywhere from construction to doctors. It's very simple to do, but all we really go through is how do we attract more buyers and customers? And that's mostly through a multiplied sales message. And we'll go over that here in a few minutes, but it's essentially copywriting. So what we do is, write copy for businesses. And how I got started is, I started my first company when I was, 14 years old, computer repair. All right, so I was very tech savvy. I knew I wanted to do stuff with computers. I was fixing computers ever before that. And then after that, I was about 20 years old. I started a clothing company here in Yosemite, California. And a lot of that was online marketing, writing sales messages, talking to bigger clients, $14 billion companies. And so that kind of gave me the chops to bring it online.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get started somewhere. And the first thing is just having the mindset, really, that you could go talk to these people, whether you're talking to a small business owner or you're talking to somebody in a part of a company who starts to make those decisions.
So what got you pretty much the balls to be able to go and do that?
I want to give a big shout out to my man Grant Cardone, Uncle G, as I would call him. But I recommend highly that you go check out his books if you guys haven't. It'd be the 10X rule. Basically boiled down, the 10X rule is whatever you think it's going to take to create success or to create the outcome you want for a certain goal, you have to set your expectations and your action level to 10 times that. So say you want to go get a client, whatever you think in your mind it's going to take to get a client, you have to actually achieve and execute on 10 times more action, emails, phone calls sent, advertising done, whatever advertising budget you think it's going to take, you probably have to budget for 10 times that. So that's really the mindset where you have to go in and say, whatever I think, if I can just have one form of advertising getting clients, you probably need to have 10 or so in mind that you can execute on. So, and then I would go to anything sales related. It's always good information. It's always motivational. And it's always inspirational to see that, people are out there that are making sales. If you work out of your home like I do, you kind of have to connect into that because, before that I worked a sales position. I was selling instruments and music and stuff like that. So you got to be in the loop of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I'll go over that in a few minutes. But it's definitely where you want to get started is with your mindset and then get skilled up.
Of course. So let's go over not sales funnels, so copyright. So a lot of people might not actually know what copywriting is. So why don't you explain a little bit?
So back in the day, Gary Halbert and, Robert Collier, they started out essentially, what is internet marketing? Well, it's just a form of connecting with more people. And that's what we do as internet marketers, essentially. Some of us are online marketers, some are offline marketers. I remember I was 19 years old and I was really trying to hit it with the online thing. I was like, I need to figure out a way to multiply my efforts, essentially leverage this system that we have. I knew that, while I was starting a business, I was working in a sales job, but I knew that if I could connect with more people, that would essentially get me to where I want to go. So they started out sending sales letters. You know, Robert Collier, Gary Halbert, all the great advertisers. If you ever want to read some great literature, check it out. Like David Ogilvy on advertising. Check out Confessions of an Advertising Man by David Ogilvy. Also, you know, Scientific Advertising. They're all just great books. But what we're doing now with the internet, they were doing way before, sending out sales letters with stamps, you know, sending out sales messages essentially through the mail. And some people got like 600 million letters sent. They would get about 20,000 orders a day. So if you could translate that to internet marketing, that's just crazy volume. So
Yeah.
Sales messages simply, now with the internet, it's just salesmanship multiplied or salesmanship multiplied.
Gotcha. And then with that, then you then utilize a sales funnel. So how do you go about? So you're dealing with you said large ticket items. So how do you go from getting that item, presenting it to the buyer, and then bringing it all the way down to getting them to actually purchase it?
So the first thing we want to do in any sales funnel is get people's attention. No matter what you're selling, whether you're selling a $7 ebook, or if you're selling, you know, a $2,000 purchase, or even like a $30,000 home repair job or something like that, you got to have some way for people to get interested and get their attention. You know, there's so much going on. More with sales letters, if you think about it, if you translate it that way, it was easier to get people's attention, right? So nowadays we have to cut through all this stuff, whether it's social media or it's YouTube or online. Somehow we have to capture their attention. And usually we start by getting a story, telling them why it's relevant to them, what's important about it, and then what benefit they're going to get from even paying attention. Before you even tell them their sales message, you want to make sure that you have their attention in the first place. Something I'll start, if I have a sample letter here,
Sure.
I'll just go, "Dear friend, your decision to read this message is probably going to turn out to be the smartest move you've ever made. So first, I'm justifying their reason for actually paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this might be beneficial to me. So as you're about to learn, this training totally delivers on every promise I've made in my advertising." I'm making a big promise because I had a headline, and we're going to talk about headlines in a few minutes. We want to make a big promise, make it emotional, make it conversational. All right, so we want to start out with something like, not only that, but every conversion boosting idea you're about to read has already been tested and proven to work. Okay, well, I'm interested now if it's been tried and true. These ideas have generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue for myself, clients, and a select group of people in my coaching program. So consider these simple secrets. Now we're talking about bullet points, because people want feature and then benefit. You know, why is it important to me? Why is social media important? Why is copywriting important? And a lot of my advertising doesn't say just copywriting. It talks about making more sales, bringing more revenue into your business. And then how do we do that? We multiply your sales efforts. So that sales funnel starts by getting their attention and then making sure they're interested. So now you see I'm generating interest. And so consider this. These simple secrets, you will learn the 10 tips for boosting conversion rates alone have generated more than 150,000 in 6 months for Long Digital in Mariposa, California. And this, the ultimate landing page, can help you get all the clients you need to finance your business, no matter what you sell, and to get these clients predictably. So now they're starting to desire. This is the AIDA formula. Many of you have heard of it, but it's very simple copywriting and making sure their desire is high. So, oh yeah, I might be interested in getting more clients. And then you get them to take action. So at the end, we want to make sure that they follow through. They say, if you want to get access to this, all you have to do is click a simple button and you're ready to roll.
Perfect.
So you want to make it easy for them to take action to the next step. Whether that's a phone call, a consultation, or something really cheap, say $47 or $97 offer where you can just bring them in the door. And then low barrier tends to be non-committal.
Yep.
The risk is very low. All the commitment to the buyer is offset by a 60, 90, 120, double your money back guarantee. Things like testimonials, credibility, things of that nature where people are like, well, you know what, it's just $47. Or it's free and the value totally outweighs I did a little bit of SEO. If you ever want to get SEO clients, just go like, hey, I'll rank you for this keyword here within the next 3 days. So you talk to them, you say, hey, I'll rank you for this. And then, after that, we'll talk to them and get started and just say, hey, we got you for this. Now we can get you for your main business rankings that you want to look for.
Yeah. That's something that I personally do when it comes to the business story that I film for people. Is I'll do it for free a lot of times. I'll say, you know what, I'm just trying to build it up. I'll do your business story for free, and we'll just post it out there and see how it goes. And a lot of times people see that, and that's something that they really enjoy, and they want to take the next step. They're like, okay, well, now how do I advertise this? Like, I have this cool video, now what I do? And that's where I say, okay, well, we can start talking about that, and you do the pitch after that. So
you want to make the steps very, very clear for the customer.
Yeah.
I like to call them clients.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I try to not use the word customer, but sometimes it's just embedded so deep. Trying to think of people as customers, but client, it means it's someone who's under the care of somebody else. So it's really that kind of relationship type of business environment where you get to foster that environment. Mm-hmm. So you want to make it very clear what the next steps are. Usually when you propose, for some reason, so I'm getting married here, but the next steps in society are usually, very clear. What's the next step? What's the next step? So we want to make that very clear to the client. Okay, so I'm going to do a free consultation. And if you want to move forward and do business with me, that's great. If you don't, you can take the plan I've given you. You can move forward and have someone else do it, or you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Or you can tell me you hate it, and then we can part ways, and I'll even pay you if you don't. So, which hardly ever happens. So usually it's one of the two. People are like, hey, thanks for doing this, and then I'm just going to do it on my own. We can say, dude, I just don't have time. I'm working. I've got a business to run. And you look like you're doing this pretty well, so why don't you just take care of it for me? What do I do? What's the next step? So make it very clear.
What are some of the things you said you deal with high ticket items? What are some of the items that you deal with?
So we do contracting, remodeling, home repair. We'll even do things like dental implants and reconstructive surgery.
So let's say for something like construction, or you were saying, or actually, no, we'll just do dental care. So for something like that, what are you dealing with? So when you get them as a client, what are your first steps that you're taking?
So usually we go over what their sales process is currently. How are they getting clients? How are they advertising? I have a whole consultation script that brings me through what are they doing in their business? How's that working for them? So essentially, questions I answer like, what are you doing? What were you doing before? What are you doing now? And then what do you want to do, or how's that working for you? Right. So we go through this whole sales funnel process. I get a 10,000 foot view of what their business looks like. And I say, well, what are the key factors here? What makes someone really want to do business with you? And then I open up different segments of a funnel. So we'll do 3 types of advertising. If you ever read Gary Vaynerchuk, I like him for some things. Some things, he's not so technical, but if you listen to a couple of his, if you read things like jab, 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 right hook,
mm-hmm.
It gets very technical. And so I like when people go tactical because, there's strategy for days if you actually put your mind to it.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, jab, jab, right hook, right? So I want to put out a free piece of content, free training. So at any given time, 3% of the market is ready to purchase whatever you're selling, no matter what it is. Whether you're selling a house, whether you're doing dental implants, whether you're doing selling cars. At any time, the market is ready for 3% of the market to purchase. But at any given time, 40% of the market is ready and open to information about your product, information about your category and your industry.
Okay.
So for 40% of the marketplace, I might go hard with the jab. I might go something like, here's 10 tips on increasing your, say, conversion rates, or 10 tips on increasing the value of your home, for like a real estate agent, or 10 tips on finding the right dentist for a dental implant job, or what do you need to know about dental implants. That opens me up to a broad place of a market. And then so another 3% of our advertising is going to be direct right hook, get a free consultation, get a free second opinion, get a free 5-minute phone call. Very risk averse as human beings we are.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we reduce the risk on all fronts. Just give me an email for the 10 tips, or just give me a phone number for the phone call. And that's how we get people into the phone and into our email funnel. and then we drip them along. So usually it takes about 7 contacts before we actually close a sale. So if we have an email funnel, we want to have at least 2 emails sent within a 21-day period. So we want to drip them along as we go. So if any of you are setting up clients with email marketing, you want to make sure you have, a seven emails over 3 months or, 4 months. You want to make it very strategic so that you can hit them with email, hit them with videos, and, hit them with social media and then Facebook ads, and, just to drip them along to get them through that funnel.
So you really think that they should hit them from every angle when it comes to it?
Oh, you got to be everywhere at all the time. That's one of the things that Grant Cardone, he talks about. If you're not first, you're last. Essentially, what the premise is that if you're not first in the customer's mind at any given time, they're usually going to purchase. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to buy a house. Everyone's going to buy a car. Everyone that's raised their hand for dental implants is probably going to get dental implants here if they're doing preliminary research, which people miss a lot of. Some people aren't ready to commit to a free consultation. They just want to know more about your product. Mm-hmm. Hey, I heard about this thing. What is it? I heard about marketing or social media or paid advertising. What is it? Yeah. What do I need to learn about it? How to make sure I don't get screwed, right?
I think that's
this kind of research.
I think that's one thing that people really mess up on is they're not putting out that content for those questions that people have. A lot of people, they just either expect their clients to know and just come to them type of thing, mm-hmm. but they're not putting out that value. They're not telling a client what they do and how it's going to benefit them, really.
Yeah, always look for shortcuts. Always look for shortcuts. That's not a gimmick. That's not something I'm telling like, oh, people can just be lazy. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But take shortcuts when it comes to getting into the customer's mind that you can deliver value. So if you're meeting people in person, give them free value. So when I was running my clothing company, we always brought samples. We always brought our whole package of items of what we can offer to this retail customer, so that they can purchase in bulk, so they can make large sales and they have more trust. If I show up with no product, say I'm dealing with it's this wholesale transaction, $20,000, $50,000 per transaction. You don't get it there where you're like, well, I have this product idea. Yeah. You want to show that you can deliver. You want to show that you have done this in the past, and you want to show that here are the next steps into making a transaction. So at any given time, like I said, 40% of the marketplace is ready to go. So if you say, hey, I'll do this thing free for you, make sure you prescribe a value to it. Say, this is usually $497, but I'll do it for free for you. Mm-hmm. And we'll get results in the next couple days, and I'll just follow up with you.
So what do you think? You just put out a promise there. So when you say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this many results, do you think that they should be clear about the results? Or because you don't know sometimes you
want to be very clear. So if you're putting out a big promise like that, say, I will rank you for this keyword. And so essentially, like, I live outside of Fresno, California and Sacramento, California. I'm kind of tucked away in the mountains. But if anything, I could put someone as best Sacramento dental implant and then put the zip code. That's a very specific result.
Yeah.
With a very specific, actually end action, where I could go in to the website and with this, just a few things, I could write some content with keywords in there. And that's copywriting too. That's content copywriting for SEO. Things that people can actually read and consume. And you write it out with all the keywords, and then you get them ranked just through their website. And that's a very specific end result. So if you search these terms, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to be, dental implants, and then the first thing you come up is you. It's going to take a little while. But if we get you this result, say, hey, I'll run an ad campaign and I'll get you at least 300 likes in the next 7 days. Or, hey, I'll write up your story, and if you advertise it, you'll get at least 100 likes. Yeah. Something like that. Awesome. But make it very non-committal. Say, hey, you know what? If you already have a list, then we'll send out an email campaign to drive people to your social media. So you want to figure out, you got to be really strategic. You got to think about what do they have already. There's no cookie cutter solution for anything. You really have to prescribe the best thing for your client, because at any given time, that might work for somebody else, but it might not work for somebody else. So you got to be really strategic, and it makes the customer or the client feel like they're being taken care of. hey, I don't usually do this, but hey, let's figure out a solution for you. And they feel like, wow, dude, this guy's custom tailoring a solution for me. I couldn't just go on my web or online and look for advertising companies, and they wouldn't do that for me.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm a strong believer in that. That's something that even I like to utilize myself. So I agree. If you had one tip that people who are trying to get their first potential client, or yeah, I'd say that the first client, they're trying to get them in the door, what would be something that you would suggest that they try?
So everything I talked about is very strategic if you want to think about it that way. So if you want to get your first client, do you want to pay to get them, or do you want to get them for free? So if I think about, land, labor, capital, if anyone's in the 67 steps, you've heard about this. It's called essentially land. Who do you know, and what can you do? Labor, sweat equity. You put your nose to the grindstone and you get ready. Or capital, are you willing to purchase customers at a discount? So essentially, we look at the lifetime value (LTV) of a customer. Now we look at the cost per acquisition. So if I find a client that's worth $1,000 a month, if you're willing to break even, if you're willing to spend $999 to get that one client, that's going to actually be a $6,000 on the back end. So if you get the first month, but if you don't have $999 or that $1,000 to acquire that first customer, you got to put in sweat equity, right? So you either got to get pounded on the phone, you got to start writing some articles and email blasting them out, or you got to get in your network. So that's labor. So you go to some kind of networking event. But if there was any like magic bullet that I could think of, I really like Thumbtack. If anybody's heard of Thumbtack, right, go create an account right now. And I'm sure Hayden can put a link in the description here, thumbtack.com. So go create a professional, go sign up as a pro, right? Go put your whatever expertise you have, go sign up and list that as a service you offer. Then create great copy in your About Me and create credibility. We're going to talk about some of these things here you want to have in your description, right? So we want to have credibility. I just got some notes here. Credibility, capture an email address if you send them to a website as soon as possible. Use lots of testimonials. So whoever if you worked with before, make sure you include those websites, or you go do some free work and you create testimonials that way, right? If you got no capital to buy customers and you don't know anybody, you got sweat equity. So go get on the phone and say, hey, I'm doing this for you for free, just so I can get some testimonials. And people were really like, I remember starting a business. So, people have that Kantian fairness that Ty talks about. Essentially, when you go approach somebody and you're like, hey, I'm just starting out, you don't need to have a bunch of puffery. Be like, well, we've been in business for 15 years. Just be honest, just be upfront, be like, hey, I'm starting my business. I just need some testimonials. Do you mind if I do some work for you for free for the next 2 weeks? People generally, and if you write me a testimonial and give me some referrals, and if you can't, buy leads on Thumbtack, it's a pretty cheap way to do it. So use magic bullets, what I call magic bullets, the feature benefit. Essentially build, say, for example, 3D movies. That's a feature. But the benefit is you feel like you're in the movie. You feel like you're interacting with everybody in the movie. Arouse curiosity. So kind of ask good questions in your description. This goes for anything really, whether it's a landing page. This is your copy. This is your About Me page, right? You want to get people to interact with you. That's the number one thing. Use a conversational copy like you and me are talking right now. You kind of want to be able to jive back and forth with the customer or the client, but you also want to be thinking like they would, right? So this is my 4 keys to good copywriting. Make sure it's concise at all times. That doesn't mean brief. That just means if you can use less words in your writing, if there's any fluff in there, just cut it out, right? So if you're using fluff words like that in your writing, you're just adding words that don't need to be there. Usually that's don't need to be there. Lots of sentences are run-on sentences. Same thing in your advertising. You want to make sure it's concise at all times. Make sure you clearly state what the benefit is, what the feature might be. Sometimes you don't need features, but a lot of technical writing, you do need some features. All right, make sure it's clear. So again, that that clarity. You want to have clarity in all your writing and all your advertising. If people go to sign up to get a free pig and they click the link and there's no free pig, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
This could be any kind of advertising. But if there's no free social media, whatever, then people will be like, what? This isn't what I signed up for. Or it's a totally different message. They're going to be like, this guy's full of crap. So, and then you want to make sure it's credible at all times. So you want to back it up with either scientific evidence or anecdotal evidence. Scientific is usually better, but anecdotal can work as well. And make sure it's compelling. Make sure people want to read it. Make sure people want to consume it. Because at the end of the day, people are going to consume content, whether it's you or somebody else. Someone's watching Netflix or they're watching your informational video on how to get more clients. And so what's more important? If you're a dentist, I'd rather have you watching my video about how you can reduce your overhead, right? How you can get more clients in, and how you can work less because you have the systems in place. Now you can watch Netflix.
Yeah.
But now I need you to get my attention. I need you to get your attention so we can start working together.
Of course, well, that was great. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I got a couple more here. You want to use emotional hooks in your headlines. So whenever, I got a couple headlines here. Let me see. I've got like the 100 best headlines ever written, and I'm just going to go over a top five. All right. So here's some of them. It's the secret of making people like you. This is one of the best-selling headlines ever. And you can tailor this to any business. The secret to creating more engagement on social media. Increasing your presence online to get more customers. Whatever it is. A little mistake that cost a farmer $3,000 a year. This was back in the 70s, I believe. 60s or 70s, where $3,000 was a huge sum of money. And not only that, but farming was a huge industry. A little bit broader than it is now, but I mean that would still work if you say it's the same thing for like a whatever business you serve. Advice to wives whose husbands don't save money, written by a wife. The child who won the hearts of all. Are you ever tongue-tied at a party? And of course, how-to headlines always work.
Yeah.
If you can't think of anything else, you can always go how to win friends and influence people, or how to do this or how to do that. People are self-centered. They want to know things that are going to help them. That's just kind of the way it is. So let's see here. Yeah, so I mean, those are some of the big things you want to have in your copywriting, like solve problems for people. A lot of people, they forget about that. They're not solving a problem for the actual customer. They're kind of just like, hey, look at me. I'm the best.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm going to tell you why this is important. And then if you want to actually solve this problem, you're going to click here. Or you're going to call me. Or you're going to request some more information. You want to make sure we actually solve the problem. And I had this all written down in a book. If you guys, actually, I'll put a link. I'll give you the link, and then you can actually spread it out there. But I mean, it's very simple stuff. It's very tactical. Make it timely and current. If you're writing like financial services, if you're doing insurance or anything medical, make sure you include new information. Make sure you're skimming the news every once in a while to see how headlines look. Not only that, but how people are responding to those. Headlines are just like ads. If you go look at like CBS Sports, I was on there the other day because it was the Super Bowl. I was kind of disheartened because I was on the phone with some new clients, and we were talking on Saturday. I was like, hey, let's follow up either tonight or tomorrow. That's a good tactic.
Yeah.
If you're ever on the phone with somebody, don't put it off. Don't put it off to, it's Saturday or Sunday. They're thinking about their business all the time.
Mm-hmm. So
you need to think the same way. This is urgent, right? We're in a hurry to help people, and we want to make sure that we're actually following up in a timely fashion. So if someone says, hey, I'll follow up with you either today or later tomorrow, people are like, oh, this guy's going to make room for me in his schedule. So it shows urgency on your point, and make sure you're always thinking in that manner. But make sure it's timely and current. If you're reading any news, make sure you include that in your headlines, in any of your content. New studies for medical doctors and things like that. Make sure you're actually providing value to people. And then, again, stress the guarantee. Make sure that you have a risk-free offer. I mean, those are the 10 key tips if I could boil it down to anything. This goes for landing page, any kind of copy.
Perfect. That was awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you putting out all that value and really telling people how to go about it. So where can people find you online?
People can find me at my website. It's longdigitalmedia.com. And if you want to go, I'm on Facebook. Instagram, a little bit less because my client base is more Facebook. But I just, I love doing it. So, yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. I believe it's Arial Long CEO. I don't know. And we also have I think we've got a fan page. Yeah.
Well, I'll grab all the links from you anyway, and I'll put them down in the description anyway.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to check out Ariel, then you can. All of his links are going to be down in the show notes or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. So I'd really like to thank you for giving that value, man.
Yeah, no problem. So if I could give any more information about getting clients, it's really how hard do you want to work? And if you're committed to that, then go out and put 10 times the effort, 10 times the value, right? And just get ready to rock and roll, because I think once you get that momentum ready, I just say get your first client. Whatever it takes, get your first client. That's why I always stressed about this. After I started my clothing company, I had some money to spend. I was like, I don't really want to spend all of it. I kind of had this idea where I want to start a real business that I can scale up. Scalability is a huge thing for me. I have basically a pyramid that's like you want to grow, and you want to scale so you can automate everything. Or you can say grow, automate, scale. Once you can start to automate things, you can scale them out. So if you have a business that applies to multiple industries across the world, then you can start to build that client base no matter what. So what makes McDonald's great, it can all be automated, scaled, and they just sell it as a package. So make sure you can, at some point, you want your business to be scalable.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man, and I think that's just about all the time we have anyway. So I would like to thank you, and I think that people will definitely be heading your way and to check you out too.
Sweet.
All right, man. Well, thank you for the call.
Right. Talk soon. Take care.
Sounds good. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Ariel Long. If you guys liked his content, obviously all of his stuff is down below along with my stuff. You can check me out too. If you want to hear the podcast, the link will be in the description. Eventually, maybe not when this is out. I don't know. It is coming. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you would like more content, be sure to subscribe, like, comment. I try and get back to all you guys. Thank you, and I will see you later.